Welcome! You're listening to the Peace and Passion podcast, the place for conscious couples and individuals who want to explore aspects of their relationships as a self-growth evolution. I'm your host, Iman Iskander, and I'm a couples therapist and counselling coach on a mission to shore up your relational life with useful information and tips, as well as inspiration and ideas from the great minds of our guests, so you can skillfully and confidently and mindfully navigate the relationship with yourself and with others and with all of life and its challenges. On with the show. All right. Welcome back, people, to the Peace and Passion podcast. Today, I have a special guest for you, and his name is Brad Goodchild, and he's a leading yoga instructor. He's the founder of Bikram Yoga 5-Doc. It's in the 5-Doc area. It's a studio in Sydney. And you're going to be delighted with this because I want you to know that I am a practicer of the Bikram yoga style of yoga, and I'm a lover of the Bikram yoga style of yoga, and I get so much out of it. So I know just by talking to Brad, who's a guru in this space, we are going to learn so much about yoga and how that translates to our lives. So welcome aboard, Brad. How are you today?
Welcome. Thank you, Iman. I'm really excited to be here and have a good chat for your listeners.
Yeah.
Your followers.
Oh, well, I'm really glad you're here too. Yeah. And you know, yoga is such one of those topics that people kind of think, hey, you know what? Yoga, what's that got to do with relationships? But I know you're going to tell us all about that.
Exactly. Yeah, that word stirs up different things in different people. Yeah, everyone's got different understandings and beliefs around that word. So let's start with this. What I'd like you to do is two things. I think there's a lot of people out there who have no idea what Bikram yoga is. What is the difference between Bikram yoga, hot yoga, just yoga? What is this thing we're calling Bikram yoga? And then I'm going to ask you to tell me about you. All right. Well, in simple terms, firstly, I love all yoga. So I believe all yoga is good yoga. And I think if you're adopting a regular yoga practice, whatever you connect to, I think that only helps your health and well-being and energy. So I'm a big supporter of different yoga styles, and I'm friends with lots of people in different yoga styles. Yeah. The one I've adopted over the years has been Bikram yoga. So Bikram yoga, it's a set of ingredients. So we do it in a heated room, and we do it over 90 minutes, and we do a very, very specific sequence of postures. And those postures are really designed to be very holistic and work through every part of the body. So you're working on your flexibility, any areas that are a little bit tight or hard to get to. The sequence just slowly peels back the layers and allows you to work through them. And the idea is that we restore health and movement to the body through repeating the sequence over and over and over. It's a bit of a prescription for the body.
Yeah.
Mix that in with the heat and the repetition and the teacher and all the ingredients of it. I believe you just tap into your health and well-being and just a better version of yourself with regular practice.
Absolutely. Yeah. So this is something that I really want to explore in this episode. So we'll go there in a minute. But before we take off with all of that, I'd like my audience to hear a bit about you personally. So is there something you want to tell them? What is it about you? How did you get to be a yoga instructor?
Well, my pre-yoga days, I was actually an accountant. So I worked as a successful accountant all through my 20s, and I felt like I was ticking the boxes of life, finish school, get good results, go to uni, find a good job, and, buy a house, find a relationship. I was doing all the right things, and I should have been happy and thrilled. And after 10 years of that, it was like, there's something missing. I should be happy. I've got all the things around me, but there was something really, really missing. And I put it out to the world. What am I meant to do? This isn't what I want to keep doing. I loved my boss, but I thought if I keep following this path, I'll be in his shoes over the next 10, 20 years, and I wanted something different. And that's kind of when I saw a sign and it just said breathe the fire, Bikram yoga. And I went in and did my first class.
Wow.
And do you know what? The first time I did yoga, what I thought it would be really easy. It was probably one of the most challenging things I'd ever done. Yeah. But, and it's, I thought I was pretty fit and healthy, but I struggled a lot. But something powerful happened and I saw this man. He was practicing next to me in his 60s. I was in my 20s at the time. And he was just moving so well, really breathing, just had all this flexibility. I hadn't seen a body like that in their 60s, and I knew something powerful was going on in the practice. So I had to find out what it was. So that sort of triggered my journey, and 15, 16 years later, I'm still doing it. And still, really helped tap into what I believe my path was, to follow my passion and purpose. And that led to becoming a teacher. It led to opening a studio. It led to building a community. So
and that sense of community, that connection that you get from yoga, being in the one place doing the practice, is something that's almost palpable. It's a beautiful thing, as I've experienced yoga. So I guess, what I love here is that you trusted your gut sense of it. You didn't follow the prescription that's given to us by the world. You do this, you do that, you do this, you do that. And you just followed where you felt there was a calling, and you found something really beautiful. So I wonder if, when you talk about yoga helps you peel back the layers, I find that a really accurate expression. I want you to talk about that, because a lot of people, when they don't know what yoga's about, they can think, oh, yeah, you're going to do a stretching exercise. Oh, I'm so tight. What are these layers that we discover in yoga? What do you mean by peeling back the layers?
Well, if you think about your house, and if you don't clean up your house, right, or the attic, it gets a lot of junk build up, right? Lots of dust. You got all this, everything around you. You've never thrown anything out, and it feels really heavy, right? If you go into a house that's not had a spring clean for 10 years, well, your body's the same. So if you've not kept it moving, or depending on what you've been doing every day, if that's all been building up, and we do tend to hold on to a lot of baggage and emotions, and all those things can get very much stress. That all gets really stored into the body, and it can build and accumulate. And we need to give our bodies a good spring clean, and then keep them open and maintaining them, and release what we need to. And that's one of the intentions of a regular yoga practice.
And let me just say that again, because I think it may have been missed. You said something really crucial just there, and I love the idea of the spring clean. That's exactly what yoga is. We got that message. But the body holds on to the stored emotions. They are chemicals that are held. And when you go to yoga and move in certain ways, you're releasing some of that pent-up energy that comes
Absolutely. So what people tend to find when they come and do their first few classes, like the first time you do a spring clean in a decade, right? It's hard work. So peeling back those first few layers and getting the energy flowing in the body again can be really uncomfortable, those first few classes. But then you do 5 or 10 classes, and it's like once you've done your spring clean, to maintain it's so much easier. In the regular yoga practice is the same way. So once you get a rhythm and a flow, you might have a stressful situation in your life. You come into the room, you still have to work through it and process it, but there is a cathartic release that happens, and you just feel lighter, more energy. And like sitting here talking to you, I've just turned 40, and I've got more movement and energy and flow in my body than I did at 20. So that's how I feel about regular yoga practice. So
40.
Yeah.
You don't look 40. Well, there you go. If you want to look like Brad, you've got to do yoga. How good is that? You definitely don't look your age. But that is true. When people are healthy and they're looking after themselves, they definitely don't look their age. And yoga is one way you can really attend to yourself, attend to your body. But, so for all those people that are thinking yoga is just stretching, I want that to be clear. It is not stretchy. I mean, of course, you get some stretches out of it.
You're stretching, you're doing that, but there's so much more going on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what you've done in preparation for this is you've told me that there's actually 1, 2, 3, 4 ways that you think yoga teaches us that it's a powerful tool that we can tap into the power of our own mind.
Yeah. And that's what I thought would be a really good chat, because yoga is just absolutely amazing. The lessons from yoga philosophy and yoga practice for our mind and body connection and our mindset.
Can you talk about that mind-body connection? Before you do, I just want to talk a little bit about something I do. I run an MBSR program, Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction. It's an 8-week program, and it's all about mindfulness. One of those sessions is about body movement. It's actually yoga. But I mean, no, it's literally just moving your hands, moving your legs, and becoming aware of the movement. And people often say, well, why are we doing that in a mindfulness course?
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. But I'd love you to speak about that mind-body connection and how yoga can help you to create that connection so you're more holistic.
Yeah. Well, I think movement is one of the most important things we can ever do for our mind-body connection.
100%. Yeah. And there's a lot of therapies, actually, just to pick up on that. There's therapies that target pent-up emotions and trauma and things like that through the body, through movement. Somatic psychotherapy is one of those, where we actually activate movements in the body to release certain emotions. So I guess when we're practicing yoga in the room and moving the body here and there, what is it? How does the mind get involved in that?
Well, when you go into the room, you've got 90 minutes with yourself.
Yeah.
And in those 90 minutes, as you're going through different postures, different things come up in the body. So different emotions, different sensations, just like life, really. Like we actually all share our emotions in common, and sometimes things come up. And just like life, there's always challenges and curveballs and things that come at you.
Yeah.
So what yoga is asking you to do is to respond to those things in a very connected way. So if we're not connected and challenges come up, we tend to push against, we go into our drama cycle, we can get very, very negative and go into a lot of victim and blame, all of those things. And that's often what happens when I see someone come in and start yoga as well, when they're experiencing different sensations in the body come up. Yes. So what I think is really powerful and what yoga can teach us is there's a different way to respond. So when things can come up, we've got tools such as our breathing, our focus, our listening. It's asking you to learn how to, yes, you do work hard in the yoga practice, but it's actually asking you to relax, to connect, to ground, put your feet on the ground, to be present. And these are all tools we all have access to. They're all inside of us. And the yoga practice just helps you to harness those things. And when we're harnessing them and using them in the room, out of the room with yoga, it's not just like the time you're in the yoga room, this is available to you anytime. You just so much better handle pressure and stress. And the mind-body with these tools, they connect. I think of your mind-body as a marriage.
Yes.
And it's one marriage you can't divorce from, Talk about a relationship, your mind and your body, they're in a marriage for life, like it or not.
Love it.
So it's one relationship you can't run away from.
Yes.
And the only way to really connect and build that relationship is through that healthy communication.
Yeah.
And that happens through connection, through our senses.
Yeah, exactly. I love what you're saying. It's just so true that all those inner resources, they're all there lying dormant, aren't they? And we cultivate them in different ways. And yoga is a beautiful way to connect with what's already in there.
There's so many tools to bring them to life, and yoga's one of them. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And, one of the things that happens in yoga, it's a body exercise, so you're moving your body in certain ways.
Yeah.
But, if you cultivate that awareness of what's happening in the mind, you can hear how your mind is evaluating and judging. And we're not very kind to ourselves.
We're not.
So I know people have said to me, like, oh, I don't even like to go to gyms or anywhere where there's a mirror because they're not going to look at me. I just hate my body, like I'm fat, or I can't do this, I'm getting too old. And we're not very nice to ourselves. Just that awareness.
Like it's shocking how we can talk to ourselves, and I'm guilty of it, absolutely. Yeah.
So that moment of awareness, I guess, is something that's kind of what I call data collection. You're collecting data about yourself, about how you treat yourself, and then you can go, wow, I'm not a good friend to me. My relationship with me is not good. And
yoga practice is a great barometer of that, because when we're in a real negative self-talk pattern, we really feel it in the room. It's really hard, and we get into all our drama stuff. So it's like, okay, I've got the mirror in front of me. I'm seeing that now.
Yes.
All right. I want to feel better right now, and I can't run away from this. So what tools have I got to feel better? And it is going that little bit slower, coming back to the connection, coming back to you.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Just reminding yourself to be tender and kind to yourself.
And just go back to you start to build that awareness, and we all get knocked off the perch sometimes. There's always.
That's right.
Yeah, but it's just having the tools that you don't go too far down the rabbit hole, right?
Lovely. All right, let's move on to the second thing, which is consistency. Now, you've indicated that it's the small things you do over time that make the biggest difference. What is this consistency thing, and how does yoga have to do with consistency, and how can we use that in having a better relationship with ourselves?
Well, if you want good health, good mind-body connection, energy, vitality, if you want to bring out the best in yourself, you need good, consistent, healthy habits. So a quote I always use when I teach is there's no such thing as an overnight miracle.
Yeah. True. So true.
Yeah.
It's keep on going.
So health and energy, mind-body connection just come from all the things that you're doing each and every day. And it's what I see students or our members probably have the biggest trouble with. I see a lot of coming, getting some momentum, starting to make change, consistency's there, and then life takes over, work pressures, family pressures, all of this. And it goes from having, doing all or nothing. And I'm like, it doesn't have to be that way. It's about find the people who are really successful in their yoga practice and their health and their energy vitality have found a way to integrate it and do and have really good habits that support it, even if it's just a little bit each and every day. I think of it like your bank balance. If you just add a little bit each and every day and you're always making deposits, making more deposits than your withdrawal, your health bank balance over 1 year, 10 years, 50 years is going to go on an upward trajectory. If you're making more withdrawals than deposits, then over time it's going to go in the opposite direction. So.
Oh my God, Brad, do you know about Gottman therapy here? That's the concept we use in Gottman therapy. We talk about making love deposits towards your partner. And so you want a healthy love bank account. It's the same concept.
Love bank account, health bank account, money bank account. You can apply it to any area of life, can't you?
And I'm not even an accountant. How good is that? Yeah. I think
consistency is just, I think, it's just what I see people really struggle with. And I guess because there's just days you don't feel like it, right? Where you're not feeling motivated and And if you have a bad day, sometimes that can lead to momentum going in the wrong direction as well, which is a bit of a shame because it's like, all right, I've fallen off the perch today, had a bad day. Let's make a deposit tomorrow, as long as overall you're accumulating and going in the right direction, then and so it's the consistent practice, the consistent commitment, the reevaluating, committing every day. This is what you want to give something to yourself. Yoga is a lovely way to give to yourself because you're working on yourself and if I don't have time to do a yoga practice that day, or I still wake up and will eat something healthy or write something positive in my journal, just all of these little things that you do, just little deposits.
And, the bank account concept is a good one because I think what we're highlighting here is that the deposit you make towards your health is a gift from you to you. So we're working on our relationship with ourselves, and yet we're also talking about the love bank account, which is kind of you do something that takes you closer towards connection with a partner, for example, and that's doing it for someone else. But you can never make those connection moves unless your bank account is full. And so it's got to start with making you healthy.
Yeah. And it's really important to then understand if you are adding to your bank account and accumulating, that's setting a wonderful example for your family, for your relationship, for your children. Like you want them to be doing the same thing. So if you're living that way, they're going to see that and be inspired by you. And then you're going to have more energy in life to contribute to your relationships with outside of yourself. So it's value that time.
Yeah, it's that ripple effect, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely time well spent and essential to have healthy relationships.
Yeah. And, you know, the other thing I just want to point out too is, you know, it's a consistency in the practice, but even what you're doing in the room in terms of consistent, like a consistent way of relating to yourself and a consistent way of trying the postures, because some postures are harder than others. I can tell you, I'm one of those ones that go, I don't want to do that one. But when you're consistently monitoring your own reactions and applying that lens of self-compassion and tenderness and committing to consistent trying, that can only kind of help build resilience.
Yeah. The body starts to change and evolve by constant repetition.
Beautiful.
Of a posture. Like this, it happens physically, but you're right. The mindset and how you respond also to different feelings as you're doing your postures evolves as well.
Beautiful. All right, let's talk about patience. And you said that somehow yoga helps build patience, and that's a good way to relate to yourself. What's this patience about? How do we get patience from yoga?
Well, you talked about it before. You've got a posture and you find it hard. Yeah. Sometimes our mind just wants to get there, just wants the quick result, the quick victory, and what we would tend to do is then do a lot of shortcuts and try to fast track things and force things. And what that does is you're building your house. So that's what doing your posture is. You're laying it, you're building it, you're growing it. But if you've not taken the time to build the foundations first, you've built it on sand. So it's all going to crumble. So yoga practice teaches you patience in that there are no shortcuts and you just have to work with where you're at. And it's okay where you're at. Yeah. And asks you to bring compassion and acceptance to where you're at and that you're just exactly where you need to be. So then just listen to yourself, work with where you're at, and then just look for the next step. What do you need there? What do you need to add? And it might be you need to add more breathing, or it might be you just need to work on a bit more strength work. And what our mindsets do, if we want the quick victory, we run 10, 20 steps ahead. When really we just need to be where we're at and just look for the next step. And be willing to be patient to build over time. And that's lovely, noticing where you're at, and just I love that idea of just taking the next step. It's that little next step, and you set it as a goal. And I think what can happen is that we judge ourselves because we're looking at that person over there in that corner who can put their leg above their head. And here I am standing in my little corner with, not even able to get the knee up. And so we're not patient because we want to do that lovely big stretch. And that we want to be there. We want to do that. We want it.
Yeah. And so it's a constant kind of awareness and an evaluation of where you're at. And taking just the next step for me. I love that. That's so golden. I might quote that.
If you're jumping 10 steps ahead, or even in life, like I run a business and I want my business to grow. I want it to be in a certain place. I want membership levels to increase. There's all these things that I want. I want more teachers. There's a lot of things you want, and it's easy to then project out into the future all the time and say, things not right because I'm not there yet. But if I apply yoga practice, it's like, no, you are where you are. Be with where it's at. There's a time for planning. There's a time for that. Make sure you do your plans, but then just come back to where you are and then just be okay with where you are and just take your next step.
Yeah, be okay with where you are. It's your journey. And this I heard someone once called it, what did they call it? Comparisonitis.
That's it.
We could all do this.
Comparison. Yeah. It's all, your yoga's all about letting go of comparison. To another body type, to even, what your body was doing a few weeks ago, a few months ago, it's just.
And that's true, isn't it? It's never the same. You can do the same posture and have a different response from your body on different days.
Yeah, and not to judge that. Yeah. And not to judge if things are a bit harder today, or if emotions are a bit stronger today, or that person next to you is annoying, or you don't like this teacher as much, or there's a lot
going on in the yoga room.
So just being patient with it all. One of the most important elements of the mind from yoga philosophy is patience.
Patience.
And I think from teaching tens of thousands of people over the years, I think that's something nearly everyone has to work on when I see someone going on their journey. Patience, 100%. And on what piggybacks on that is that term you used before. You said acceptance. And I think when you apply both of those things, we're patient with ourselves, we accept where we are without judgment. That makes yoga almost a spiritual practice. It's not just a body thing. Yeah.
I love it. Compassion and acceptance were the two that you said, and then looking at what you need to add just to keep you moving.
Or what you need to remove.
Nice.
Sometimes your next step is something you've got to stop doing.
Right. Yeah. What could that be?
Nearly every time in yoga, the breakthrough happens by just letting things go a little bit, bringing a little more breath, being just that little bit more relaxed.
Well, the yoga sessions that you run are 90 minutes, right?
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yes. A great way to learn patience.
It is. Indeed, it is. Because it's a long time of that focused attention on you, on your body, on your journey, on your movements, on what you can do, what you can't do, where you're wobbling, where you're straight, where you're judging, where you're looking at other people. And my gosh, is that excellent training for life?
100%. And the other thing I think that helps with patience that we do a lot in our Bikram yoga practice is after we've got the body warmed up and we're sort of in the last half an hour of the class, we take 20 seconds between every posture just to lay in savasana and stillness.
Oh, nice.
So that's a big part of learning patience. So it's not all about working hard, just to take the time, because when we do, it's in that time that we give our body space and time to process, do what it needs to do. We can harness the energy that we've just generated in the posture. So there's a lot that happens in that just by relaxing and being still with ourselves. Yes.
Seems to be the hardest thing for people. This is so true of life, isn't it? Those purposeful pauses that we can take in our day, just to stop and recalibrate and to breathe. They're already there in the yoga, and we can translate that into how we live our life. Gosh, that's magical, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's hard because people don't lie still, and people don't take the pause.
No, it's savasana is the hardest posture because we're not used to lying still. We're not used to surrendering. We're trying to train to work hard and tick boxes and always be getting things done and be busy. And when we bring that patience and relaxation and that time for ourselves, and we create space, one, to fill up our energy tank, two, we give all our world space, our relationships some space, and always what your next move is, the ideas, clarity, all of that comes by doing that. So it's time well spent. Yeah.
I wonder, Brad, if you've got a little tip, and I'm kind of hoping that I'm asking you the big questions here, so you're going to solve a lot of problems, right?
Loving this conversation.
What's the one tip that you would give somebody? This is the person who's rushing in their day, going from this to that, and they're saying, I don't have time to stop. Come on, I've got lots of things on my to-do list. I've got to get moving, got to get going. It's that same person that comes to yoga and then tries to do the savasana and finds that they're fidgeting, they've got to wipe the sweat, or they can't do it, their body's all tingly. What's the one thing that you might say to that person to go, whoa?
Well, all of that stress and all of that happens when our body's in an oxygen-deprived state. So get the oxygen through the body. The number one thing, breathing.
Breathing. Simple as that.
And it's such an automatic, critical response for our body to stay alive that it does it without us thinking.
Yes.
But when we connect to the breath and we get more oxygen through the body, the body instantly will go into a more calm, peaceful state.
Right. Okay.
So if we're fidgeting, if we're running around, if we're stressed, we're not getting enough oxygen through the body.
Right. So that's it.
It doesn't matter what the problem is in life.
If
whatever you're going through, number one, stop and come back to your breathing. Do that first.
Yes.
And then everything else will flow.
Well, that's beautiful. That's a lovely
thing. When I see someone who's really calm in the room, can hold a posture for a minute, really, really still in savasana, looking very, very focused, just got beautiful flow and movement, they've mastered the skill.
And the breath. It all comes back to the breath.
They've mastered it. So,
And is it any particular way of breathing? Do people need to go and learn a particular way of breathing?
No, just normal breathing through the nose.
Okay. So can you talk then about this?
The specific breathing exercise we can do through the mouth. Yeah. But just for really simple purposes.
Yeah.
Just
in and out.
Just in and out, normal through the nose. But just awareness towards it.
Yeah, like intentionally, because it happens all the
breathing.
time. So
it needs to be intentional.
How you do it. And I always say, look, if you want to have greater impact on relaxing the body, make the out breath longer than the breath in. And that's already integrated in yoga, isn't it? Because I know
there's some amazing breathing exercises that you can learn in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely.
If anyone wanted to learn more about it, just Google pranayama breathing and the pranayama breathing is a wonderful tool.
All right. Do you want to spell that, Brad?
You might maybe type it in the comments.
Okay. Pranayama breathing. Okay. Yeah. So we'll Google that, and then there's lots of practices there that people can adopt. Lovely. Okay.
Yeah. I'll send a link and people can at least watch that. So that'll be a wonderful tool.
Okay, people, you've heard it. It's going to be in the show notes. Look up the Brad pranayama breathing link, and you'll get your own techniques to really ground you. Lovely.
Yeah.
Let's talk about self-realisation, which is the other thing that you've mentioned, is a way to kind of benefit from yoga in terms of having a better relationship with yourself. What does that mean? What's self-realisation in yoga? What's that?
Well, when I started yoga, one of my senior teachers said the biggest problem in life is lack of self-realisation. And I didn't know what it meant. And years of practice and running the school and talking to different bodies and people and, being part and growing and leading a community, I have really learnt to listen to people's language and what comes out of the mouth. And it's amazing how we can tell ourselves stories such as I'm too old, I'm too sick, I'm not motivated, I'm too out of shape, and none of those things are really true. So I find one of the biggest things if someone's been in an unhealthy rut and they're trying to make a transformation, a change, the way to, get back to making the deposits we talked about is there needs to be a lot of rewiring first with that self-talk. Yeah, and what you believe about yourself and what you believe is possible. Because the truth is your body is amazing. Your body can live to 80, 90, 100 and beyond and be healthy, full of movement, full of energy, full of life. You can be connected, and then you can have wonderful relationships and do all these amazing things in your life. Like all of that is possible. One of my senior teachers who I absolutely love, she's a World War II survivor, and she's in her 90s now, and she's still living, and she still wakes up, she still teaches, she still practices, she's got incredible flexibility in her body, and she's the youngest, most energetic 90-year-old I've ever met. And I'm inspired by that. That's a vision of what's possible, and that's the potential in our body. But to realize that potential, we need beliefs that understand that and link to that. And most of us, unfortunately, through life and conditioning have not got those beliefs, unfortunately. Yeah.
And so the self-realization is just, again, being aware of the mind mush. That's what I call it, mind mush. Happening And I love the idea of, gosh, being 90 and being so nimble and being able to use your body by teaching yoga. That's incredible. I don't think
it's a wonderful example of we
need people like that around us, so we can see what's possible.
Exactly. And that's why I love yoga, because you can't, self-realization isn't an overnight process. Yeah.
We're always growing and evolving.
But yeah, sometimes our beliefs and our excuses can keep us very trapped and very stuck in ruts, and can go down the rabbit hole. And that's what I've learned has been a lack of self-realization. And I guess I've been on such a journey of self-realization now that when I'm working in the community and working with different people, I'm sort of, I guess, seeing, wow, what people can really believe about themselves. And I feel like my job is just to, plant a little seed of what's possible, just to take the next step and,
absolutely.
And do it. Yeah.
And, there's a lot of people that, would balk at the idea of doing a self-development program, or that's not their cup of tea. They don't want to do that sort of thing. But actually, just by attending a yoga class and hearing some of the teachers' commentaries and being aware of how you're responding, you're getting all of that self-development training. And
I think the self-realization journey, it is about being curious. It's about asking questions. It's being open-minded. It's willing to receive feedback. It's and into any area of your life. So
this is really beautiful. I think what you've highlighted in this episode, Brad, is just how much value yoga has to offer. It's not just a simple stretching routine and you kind of stretch and that's it. There's so much more going on. So far you've highlighted the mind and body connection. You've highlighted how it can bring consistency into our lives and the consistent practice to take us to where we want to go. And you've also highlighted how it can teach us patience. So even when we're feeling wobbly in the room, we can learn to keep going. And you've also highlighted about self-realization, how much you get to learn about yourself. They're really good and valuable lessons. So thank you so much for kind of doing all of this beautiful work. Is there anything else you want to say to anyone who's listening about yoga?
Yeah, look, I had a member. She started a few years ago, and she came in and she was in her late 50s and took, she had to do a big spring clean in her body. And her first class was really rough for her. And I honestly thought I would never see her again. And she looked me in the eye and she said, oh, gosh, that was hard. And she just said, gosh, I'm not sure I can do this. But then she looked me in the eye and she said, but I'm going to be your success story. And I looked at her back and I was like, oh, really? And she goes, yeah, I'm going to do what it takes. And 3 or 4 years later, she's a completely different person, different energy, in a different place in her health. Yeah. So that's to me a great self-realization journey where rather than running away and staying stuck, she really made the commitment, hey, I've got to change.
Yeah. I think you must have seen something in that look that she gave you, because that's determination there. And when you really
I loved it. And I knew, and I just looked her in the eye and I said, I believe you, like from what I heard. So, yeah.
What a beautiful, inspiring story. And we can all do that. Now,
and I think that demonstrates how yoga can help people realize their potential.
Sure.
And now she wants to be a teacher and she's studying to become a teacher. So
wow. And if people want to do some of this, can you tell my listeners how they can find you?
Oh yeah, our studio is in Five Dog. So really just show up.
Yeah. Okay. So, Googling Bikram Yoga 5 Doc.
That would be the best way. Just Google Bikram Yoga 5doc.com.au.
And that's it.
And there's 2 things I would do. One, I've got a page on there called Roadmap. Oh. And I've just done quick little videos and it sort of answers a lot of the questions that have been coming up today. So I'd just, watch all those little videos and then just go to the session times page. And you can either book online or just give us a quick call and come on in for your first class.
Yeah, I think you've even got a really lovely starter package as well, so people don't have to kind of throw in, a year's bookings or anything
No.
It's just a lovely
we respect people need to come and feel the studio and the community first, so we offer a week for $37 just to...
Oh, that's nothing. Lovely.
Yeah, okay. Just to come and meet us. Yeah, give us a go.
Okay, I'm going to throw some rapid fire questions at you. I have been forgetting to do them in every single guest episode that I have done, but I am remembering today. So I'm going to ask you 3 questions and let's see what you can come up with. So my first question is, because it's a Peace and Passion podcast, Brad, so what does peace mean to you?
Peace means grounded, connection, breathing, self-love, compassion, empathy.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, so
peace means working on the relationship with yourself. That's what peace means to me.
Yeah. It is. It's that inner connection. Lovely. Thank you for that. What's one most important ingredient for a great relationship? Now, you can take the great relationship to be any relationship. And so what would that be?
Oh, the greatest relationships, and I know the greatest relationships in my life, the biggest ingredient is one, being clear on your own values and to let someone in my space and be really close, as those values need to align.
Oh, wow. That's a biggie. Yeah. That's a whole episode right there.
There you go.
Thanks for the idea. Value alignment in relationships, 100%.
When you know your own values, you're just so clear on what's okay and what's not okay.
Yeah. Okay. And so the last question was something to do with great relationships, and I guess it's similar to the first one, but have you got any comments at all to make about what's a great relationship? I guess is if there's anything different.
My great relationships based on my values all are about respect. Treating each other with kindness, being curious, always wanting to learn about yourself and the other person. So the best relationships I have, we're both curious, we're both learning, and we throw the ball back and forward. And so I know I've been with my partner for 14 years.
Oh, that's a good relationship.
And the reason it works is because we share the same values. And I've got my path, he's got his, but we're always learning and growing, and we both bring that into it, and we kind of just keep growing with our own journeys. But together we can learn even more off each other. So yeah.
I think you also said something that's really important there. I just want to highlight that one too. You said we're curious. And that is such an important thing, because often we can get caught up in our own brains and our own sense of reality. And if we're not curious about what's happening for the other person, we don't see the other perspective.
No, and I think that's having the ability to step into their shoes.
Yes. Yeah. I think you've hit some biggies here, and each of those can be.
We could talk for days on some of these topics.
Okay, you're going to have to come back. That's it. I'm going to invite you back. We'll give you a bit of time to recover from this one, but I'd love to have you back if you'd be willing. And
I would love that, Iman.
Thank you so much for your generosity with your time and all the lovely wisdom that you've given my listeners. So once again, thank you, Brad.
I really love this chat. I really love these topics. So thank you for inviting me.
All right. You take care now.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Iman.
Thanks for listening to the Peace and Passion podcast. If you'd like to stay in contact, make sure you subscribe to the show in your podcast app so you don't miss an episode. Now, if you liked something here or if something resonated with you, I'd love your encouragement to keep this going. You can do that with a review, a like or a share, or just by telling someone that you think will benefit from hearing this podcast. Take good care now.